Put her in my car, or you don't get her back. My mother-in-law said it softly, like she was reminding me to grab milk, not threatening to take my 9-year-old. Mia stood between us in the daycare lobby, backpack sliding off one shoulder, cheeks still sticky from snack time. She looked up at me like I could translate adult words into something safe. I didn't move. If I moved, she'd know I was scared. Behind the front desk, a teacher pretended not to listen. The security camera above us blinked red. My husband's sister, Tessa, hovered by the door with her phone angled low, recording. Not obvious. Just in case, like she always did. And Darlene Pearls, perfume, calm, kept smiling. Your work trip, she continued, voice sweet. You'll be gone 3 days. Mia stays with family. That's what good mothers do, Mia whispered. Mom, are we going home? Darlene answered for me. Not today, honey. Grandma's got you. That was the moment I realized my daughter wasn't being helped. She was being transferred. I bent and pulled Mia behind my legs. We're leaving, I said. Darlene didn't raise her voice. She never did. Then I'll call the court mediator I already spoke to. Tessa's phone lifted a little higher. Mia's fingers clenched my jacket, and I knew the safest place in the world, my own arms, had just become a battlefield. Subscribe if you want the whole truth, because what happened next in that lobby was only the opening punch. My husband's family doesn't do screaming fights. They do paperwork. They do concern. They do gentle hands on your shoulder while someone else locks the door. I married Evan because he felt steady. He was the guy who carried groceries without being asked and fixed Mia's bike chain with patient fingers. Mia's biological dad vanished years ago, so Evan stepping in felt like a miracle I didn't deserve. His mother, Darlene, treated our life like a reputation project. She praised me when I stayed quiet. She got icy when I disagreed. If I worked late, she'd sigh and say, "Children keep score." If Mia spilled juice, Darlene would wipe it up and murmur, "Some homes are more organized, small cuts, always wrapped in sweetness." My job paid well but required occasional travel. Darlene called it running around, like I was partying instead of earning rent. Evan would whisper, "She's old school," but he never corrected her. He never said, "Mom, stop." A month ago, Mia's school had career day. I couldn't attend because one of my stores had a freezer failure. Evan went. Darlene went too, uninvited, wearing pearls like she was on a stage. That night, Mia asked me a question that made my stomach drop. "Mom, why did Grandma tell my class you're not settled?" I froze with the toothpaste cap in my hand. "She said that?" Mia nodded, eyes down. "She said you love work more than being a mom, and that Evan is the one who really takes care of me." My throat burned. "Did she say it in front of your friends?" Mia nodded again. "And Mrs. Klein. And Aunt Tessa." I wanted to storm into Darlene's house and rip the pearls off her neck. Instead, I sat on the floor beside Mia's bed and said, "Grandma shouldn't talk about me like that." Mia's voice went tiny. "Am I a problem?" "No," I said. "Too fast." "You're my whole reason," I texted Evan. "Your mom embarrassed me at career day. We need boundaries," he replied. "She worries. Don't turn it into drama." A week later, Darlene showed up with a casserole and that polite smile. "I heard you're traveling again," she said, placing the dish down like it was a peace offering. 2 nights, I said. "Evan will do drop-off and pick-up." Her eyes softened, fake soft. "Evan told me he's overwhelmed." My stomach tightened. "He told you that?" "He's being honest," she said. "Mia needs consistency. Maybe you need a break." I laughed because the alternative was shaking apart. "A break from paying our bills?" Darlene sighed. "A child deserves a permanent, traditional home." Evan walked in mid-sentence, kissed my cheek, and asked, "What's for dinner?" He didn't even look at his mother. That's when I started saving everything. Screenshots, voicemails, the comments Darlene slipped to Mia when she thought I couldn't hear. I didn't think I'd ever need it. Then my company scheduled a mandatory leadership summit. 3 days, out of state. I arranged everything. Notes on the fridge, medicine labeled, daycare authorization in Evan's folder. The night before I left, Darlene called. "I'll pick Mia up while you're gone." "No," I said. "Evan has it." A pause. A soft laugh. "That's not what Evan said." My pulse spiked. "What did he say?" "That he can't do this alone," she replied. "Family helps." The next morning, Evan acted normal. He hugged me, promised Mia would be fine, kissed my forehead like I was being silly for worrying. I wanted to believe him. I almost called my boss to quit right there at the airport gate. Not because I hated my job, but because I could suddenly see the trap. Every hour I spent away was a story Darlene could twist into abandonment. And I hated that I was even thinking like that, like a grown woman could be negotiated into giving up her life to earn permission to parent her own child. I landed at noon. 2 hours later, the daycare called. "We received a notarized form," the director said carefully, adding Darlene Whitmore as an approved pickup. My mouth went dry. "From who?" "From your husband," she whispered. I called Evan. Voicemail, and then another call came. "Your mother-in-law is here right now. She's demanding Mia. She says you're abandoning her." I booked the first flight home. I walked into that lobby, still wearing my conference badge, straight into Darlene's smile and Tessa's camera, right as my daughter's safety became a debate. Stay subscribed, because the next thing Darlene did made it clear I wasn't fighting a misunderstanding. I was fighting a plan. Darlene's smile didn't crack. She just shifted her purse so the strap sat higher, like she was bracing for impact, not doing damage. "Leah," she said, voice gentle for the audience. "You look exhausted. This is exactly what I mean." The daycare director hovered behind the desk, torn between policy and fear. Mia's teacher stood by the hallway, holding her lunchbox like it was a shield. I kept my eyes on my daughter. "Mia, come to me." She took one step, then stopped, confused. Darlene's hand lowered to Mia's shoulder, feather-light, but it might as well have been a cuff. "Sweetie," Darlene cooed, "your mom needs rest. Grandma will take you somewhere fun." Mia looked at me, panic rising. "Are you mad?" "No," I said, swallowing hard. "I'm here." Darlene turned to the director. "We have legal documentation. I'm listed for pickup. Leah is emotional. She's been unstable." There it was again. Unstable. I pulled out my own folder, Mia's documents, my custody papers, our daycare contract, and set it on the counter like I was laying down a weapon. "I am her only legal parent," I said. "Evan is a step-parent. Your form doesn't override this." Darlene's eyes flickered. Not anger. Calculation. Tessa kept recording. Evan finally walked in, breathless, eyes darting like he'd been coached on where to stand. He looked between us and said, "Leah, can we talk outside?" "No," I said. "Not until Mia is behind me." Darlene's voice stayed calm. "Evan, honey, tell her what we discussed." Evan swallowed. "Mom just wants to help while you're traveling." "I canceled the trip," I snapped. "I came home because your mother tried to take my daughter." He winced. "She didn't try to take her. She's family." "Did you sign a notarized pickup authorization?" I asked. His silence was a yes. Mia's face crumpled. "You're sending me away?" I crouched. "No, baby. Nobody is sending you away." Darlene stepped in, quick and smooth. No one said away. We said safe. Safe. New word. Same knife. The director cleared her throat. "If there's a dispute, we can't release the child. We'll need law enforcement or a mediator." 8. Darlene's smile widened. "Of course. Call whoever you need. We have nothing to hide." That's when I saw it, an envelope in Darlene's purse, thick and manila, labeled in black marker with my name. Leah Carter. Her handwriting. My stomach dropped. I wasn't dealing with a pickup form. I was dealing with a file. Mia, I said softly. Come here. This time, she moved. She pushed past Darlene's hand and ran to me like her body knew before her brain did. I scooped her up and held her tight. Darlene didn't grab. She didn't lunge. She just turned to Evan and murmured like she was assigning chores. Plan B. Evan's jaw clenched. Tessa's phone tilted closer, catching my shaking hands, my reddening face. They wanted footage. They wanted proof. I was unstable. I forced my breathing slow. We're leaving, I said to the director. Please document. Darlene Whitmore and Tessa Whitmore are not authorized. Any paperwork from Evan is disputed. The director nodded fast, relieved to have something solid. Outside, in the parking lot, Evan caught up with his hands raised. Leah, please. Mom's just worried. We can work this out. I turned so Mia couldn't see my mouth and whispered. You tried to give your mother access to my child. He hissed back. You're overreacting. Darlene approached with the manila envelope in her hands now, like it was a casserole. Let's sit down like adults. I've made a list of concerns. A list, I repeated. For Mia's well-being, she said, eyes kind, voice sweet. Mia pressed her face into my shoulder and whispered, Please don't leave me. I won't, I promised, and I meant it. Back at home, I locked every lock, then checked them twice. Mia sat on the couch, hugging her stuffed rabbit like it was a life vest. What did Grandma mean by safe? She asked. I chose my words carefully. Sometimes adults use that word to get what they want. Mia's brows pinched. Does Evan want me? The question sliced me open. Evan's confused, I said. But I'm not. That night, after Mia finally slept, I opened my email and saw a new message, formal, cold, from a law office I'd never heard of. Subject line, Petition for Emergency Guardianship. My hands went numb. I clicked. The petitioner wasn't Darlene. It was Evan. I stared at the screen until the words stopped looking like English and started looking like a verdict. Mia padded into the kitchen in socks, hair wild, and asked, Are we still going to my science fair? Yes, I lied immediately. Of course. Because her science fair wasn't just a school event anymore. It was a stage Darlene could show up to and pose as supportive grandma. It was another place my daughter could be cornered while adults smiled and whispered. I forwarded the petition to myself, then to Renee, then saved it to 3 separate folders with boring names. Receipts, taxes, Mia summer camp. If Darlene wanted to play paperwork games, I would out-organize her. When Evan came into the bedroom later, he didn't mention court. He mentioned dinner. We should all go to Mom's Sunday, he said, casual. It'll calm things down. I stared at him like he'd suggested we visit a house that was actively on fire. Your mom tried to take Mia. He rubbed his face. She overstepped. But you know how she is. If you just apologize for the way you spoke, I felt my stomach hollow out. Apologize? For protecting my daughter? He flinched, then said the line that proved he was already on her team. You're making Mia anxious. I looked at the closed bedroom door where Mia slept and thought, No, you are. That's when I made a decision I didn't say out loud yet. I wasn't going to argue with them. I was going to outlast them. If you want to know how fast a normal life can collapse, hit like and subscribe right now because the next part flips everything, and it starts with the one person I thought would never betray me. I read the petition with one hand while my other stayed on Mia's back, feeling her breathe. Claims, frequent travel, emotional volatility, unsafe home environment, lack of stable marital structure. It was written in calm, professional language, the kind that sounds true because it sounds tidy. At the bottom, Evan Whitmore, petitioner, my husband. I didn't scream. I didn't throw my phone. I felt something colder than anger. Clarity. In the morning, I didn't confront him. Not yet. I made breakfast, I packed Mia's backpack. I smiled like my life wasn't on fire, because people like Darlene feed on explosions. They wait for you to lose control so they can label you. So I got quiet. While Evan showered, I opened his laptop. He never changed his password. He never thought he'd have to. There was a thread with Darlene and the attorney. Darlene had drafted talking points like she was writing a church announcement. Frame it as concern, not punishment. Leah will react emotionally. That supports our case. Keep Mia with a stable family unit. Leah can visit, like I was a babysitter who'd overstayed. I photographed everything, every attachment, every message, every calendar invite labeled strategy call. There was even a spreadsheet named incidents, full of tiny complaints. Leah worked late. Leah missed a dinner. Leah raised her voice when the sink leaked. It wasn't evidence. It was a character assassination draft. Then I called my cousin Renee, the only person in my life who never told me to keep the peace. Renee listened, then said, "You need an attorney today." "I don't have attorney money," I whispered. "You do," she said. "Stop paying for people who want to erase you." I booked a consultation with a family law attorney named Marisol. She had sharp eyes and a voice like steel wrapped in velvet. She read the petition and hummed. "They're trying to make you look unreliable. And they're using your husband as the front man. Smart and dirty." I slid my phone across her desk. "I have emails." She scrolled, eyebrows lifting. "Oh, you have coordination." She printed them. Highlighted lines. Made copies. "Do not warn them," she said. "Do not negotiate privately. We respond through court, and we respond with facts." My throat tightened. "What if Darlene shows up again?" "Call police," Marisol said, "and update every authorization list you can touch." I did exactly that. Daycare, school, doctor, dentist, after-school art club. I signed forms until my wrist ached. "One more thing," Marisol told me. Made my skin prickle. "Expect them to bait you," she said. "A text that sounds kind. A gift. A public scene. They want you to look unreasonable." As if on cue, my phone buzzed that evening with a message from an unknown number. "Leah," it said. "This is Pastor Glenn. Darlene is worried about you. Please call." I stared at it, pulse hammering. Darlene was recruiting authority figures now, religion, community, anything that looked respectable. I didn't respond. I screenshotted it the next day. My manager asked if I was doing okay. His tone was careful, the way people speak when they've heard rumors but don't want to admit it. "My personal life is being meddled with," I said, keeping my voice calm. "It won't affect work." He nodded slowly, not convinced. Darlene's whisper campaign was already leaking into my paycheck. That night, I drove past Darlene's house out of instinct, like checking the weather before a storm. Her porch light was on. Evan's car was in the driveway, and through the front window, I could see them sitting around her dining table, with papers. Not dinner. Documents. Darlene was pointing at something. Evan was nodding. And Tessa was filming. Even in her own house, she couldn't stop collecting proof. I drove away before they saw me, but the image burned in my head, my husband being coached like a puppet. At daycare pickup, Mia watched me sign and whispered, "Are we in trouble?" I knelt. "No. Grown-ups are being weird. You're safe with me." She believed me because she had to. That evening, Evan sat on the couch like he'd practiced concern in the mirror. "Leah," he began, "Mom thinks we should all talk." I set my keys down carefully. "Why did you file for guardianship?" His face twitched. "It's not like that. It's exactly like that." He rubbed his hands together. "You're always stressed. You snap. Mia sees it. I snap because your mother humiliates me and you watch," I said, voice low. He flinched. "This isn't about you. It's about Mia. Word for word. Darlene's script. I nodded slowly. Okay. Then here's what's going to happen. You're moving out tonight. His eyes widened. What? You can pack, I said. And you will not contact Mia without my attorney involved. He stood up fast. You can't do that. I can, I said. And I am. For the first time, his calm mask cracked. You're making me the villain. I laughed once, sharp. You signed the papers. You already chose. He grabbed a duffel bag, slammed the door hard enough to rattle the frames, and left. Mia appeared in the hallway in her pajamas, eyes wide. Is Evan mad? I swallowed the ache. Evan made a bad choice. Her voice went thin. Is Grandma coming? I hated that she already understood the threat. Mia asked me at dinner, Are we moving? And I had to swallow my fear before I answered. Not unless we choose to, I said, even though I was already pricing new locks in my head. That night, I slept on the floor outside Mia's room, phone in my hand, because fear makes you do primal things. At 4:03 a.m., someone tried the doorknob soft, patient. Then Darlene's voice through the door, sweet as sugar. Leah, honey, I brought papers for you to sign. I didn't answer. I called 911, and while I waited for sirens, I realized the detail that never made sense before. Tessa wasn't recording for memories. She was building a case. Stay subscribed. Because once the police showed up, Darlene revealed a secret Evan had hidden from me our entire marriage. The police arrived with quiet authority, lights washing my living room in blue. By the time the officer knocked, Darlene had stepped back from my door and was standing in the hallway with Tessa, both holding tote bags like they were delivering groceries. Darlene smiled at the officer. Oh, thank goodness. We were worried. Leah isn't answering her phone. The officer looked at me, then at Mia, peeking from behind my leg. Ma'am, do you feel safe? Yes, I said, and I need them to leave. Darlene's smile tightened. Officer, we have family documents. Leah is refusing to cooperate. The officer held up a palm. Unless you have a court order right now, you need to step back. We filed, Darlene insisted. A filing isn't an order, he said. Leave the property. Tessa's phone was recording again. The officer noticed and told her to stop. She did, pouting like a scolded teenager. Even though she was 30, Darlene lifted her chin. Fine, we'll handle it the right way. She looked at Mia with practiced warmth. Sweetheart, Grandma loves you. Mia didn't answer. She just gripped my shirt. When the hallway door shut, my knees finally went weak. The next day, Marisol filed our response. My sole custody order, daycare logs, the police report number, and the email trail proving coordination. The court date landed 2 weeks out. 2 weeks is a lifetime when someone is trying to rewrite your life. Darlene shifted tactics the way a professional does when one weapon fails. First, she sent gifts to Mia at daycare. A glittery journal, a necklace, a note that said, I miss you. Tell your mom to be reasonable. The director called me. We returned it, she said gently. But she's persistent. Then Darlene appeared at Mia's school, not to pick her up, but to volunteer for reading hour. She signed up under Mrs. Whitmore, like the building owed her access. The counselor called me, alarmed. I drove over on my lunch break and watched Darlene from across the hallway, smiling, waving, scanning for Mia like she was shopping. Mia saw her and froze, eyes huge. She didn't cry. She just reached for my hand. I walked her right back to the counselor's office and said, No contact. Not even as a volunteer. Darlene's face didn't show anger. It showed injury, fake injury, like I'd slapped her for offering soup. On the way out, she leaned close and whispered, You're making Mia feel torn. That's emotional abuse. I stared at her, stunned by the audacity. That line didn't even sound like her. It sounded like a therapist brochure. Odd detail. Her perfume had changed. It wasn't the heavy floral she always wore. It was crisp, clean, like hospital soap. She'd also changed her voice. It had a tiny tremble now, like she was practicing fragile. The same woman who once corrected the way I held a wine glass was suddenly just a worried grandma, and she'd started dressing Mia in her mind. I could see it in the way she stared at my daughter's braids, the way she asked the counselor, "Does Mia like dresses?" Like she was planning a wardrobe for a life without me. I caught myself checking my mirrors while driving, scanning my rear view for the same silver SUV Darlene drove. It showed up twice in the same week near Mia's school. Maybe coincidence, maybe not. But coincidence doesn't show up twice and park across from your kid. She was reinventing herself for court. Then the calls started. Darlene called my coworkers, pretending she was worried about my health. She called my landlord to ask about noise complaints. She called my neighbor to offer help if Leah has episodes. Episodes? Always that word. A week before court, I found a sticky note on my door. "Please keep it down. Some of us work from home." I wasn't loud. I barely breathed. I realized Darlene wasn't just trying to win a hearing. She was trying to isolate me until her story became the only one anyone heard. That's when Renee came over with pizza and a face that said she was done being polite. "You know why she wants Mia?" Renee asked, dropping onto my couch. "She hates me," I said. "She loves control." Renee shook her head. "Control is a hobby. This is a mission." She slid her phone across the table. A social media post from one of Darlene's church friends. "So proud of Darlene stepping up to raise her granddaughter. God restores families. Raise." My chest squeezed. "She's telling people Mia is already hers," Renee nodded. "And there's more. Aunt Pam finally told me why Darlene is so obsessed with restoring the Whitmore name." I frowned. "What are you talking about?" Renee hesitated, then said it. "Evan had an older brother, Kyle. He died at 18. I went cold. Evan told me he was an only child." "He lied," Renee said. "Kyle's girlfriend was pregnant when he died. The baby didn't make it." Darlene spiraled. "She's been chasing a do-over ever since." Replace. That word didn't need to be spoken. It filled the room anyway. I thought about Darlene's obsession with stable family unit, about the manila envelope, about Leah can visit. I texted Evan through Marisol's channel. "Did you have a brother?" He replied hours later. "Don't bring Kyle into this." So it was true. 2 days before court, a stranger approached Mia at daycare pickup, a woman with kind eyes and a church cardigan. She smiled at Mia and said, "Your grandma asked me to tell you she's waiting. Come with me, sweetie." Mia looked at her, then at me, and whispered, "Mom, I don't know her." My heart stopped. The woman's hand was already half extended, like she expected Mia to obey any adult with a gentle tone. That tiny assumption, obedience, was the whole danger. Stay subscribed, because the final part isn't just about court. It's about what I found inside Darlene's file when it finally fell into my hands. I didn't let my face change in front of Mia. I stepped between her and the woman, smiled like we were old friends, and said, "Hi, who are you?" The woman's smile faltered. "I'm from church," Darlene said. I'm sure she did. I cut in, still smiling. "But Mia doesn't go anywhere without me. I thought it was arranged," she whispered. "It's not," I said. "Please step away from my child." The daycare director came out, stiff with alarm, and the woman backed off fast, muttering apologies. In the car, Mia's voice shook. "Was that kidnapping?" I gripped the wheel until my knuckles hurt. "It was someone trying to confuse you," Mia whispered. "Grandma keeps sending people." I swallowed my rage. "Grandma doesn't get to do that." At home, I called Marisol. She went silent for a beat, then said, That's coercion. Document it. So I did. The director's statement, the timestamp, the description, the camera angle. The hearing arrived like a storm. Marisol and I walked into the courthouse with a folder thick enough to bruise someone. Darlene was already there, dressed in cream, pearls shining, a Bible tucked under her arm like a shield. Tessa sat beside her, hands folded, eyes darting. Evan stood behind them, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. Mia stayed with Renee in the hallway. I didn't want her inside that room of lies. Darlene spoke first, voice trembling on cue. Your Honor, we're just concerned. Leah is overwhelmed. She travels. Mia needs stability. We want to help. Marisol stood and spoke like a scalpel. Your Honor, Leah Carter is Mia's sole legal parent. There is no basis for emergency guardianship. This petition is retaliation for Leah setting boundaries. Then she handed over the emails. The judge read in silence, lips tightening. He paused at Darlene's line. Leah will react emotionally. That supports our case. The judge looked up. Mrs. Whitmore, did you write this? Darlene blinked fast. It's taken out of context. Marisol handed over the daycare log, the attempted pickup, the police report, the church friend incident, and the volunteer sign-in sheet. The judge's voice sharpened. You sent a third party to approach the child. Darlene's hands shook for the first time. We were trying to keep her safe. From what? The judge asked. Darlene glanced at Evan like he'd save her. Evan stared at the floor. Marisol slid my sole custody order forward, stamped in plain. The judge exhaled. This petition is denied. Relief hit me so hard my vision blurred, but the judge wasn't done. He leaned forward. And I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. Neither Mrs. Whitmore nor Miss Whitmore may contact the child directly or indirectly. Any further attempts will be addressed as contempt. Darlene's face went pale. Outside the courtroom, Evan followed me, eyes red. Leah, please. I didn't think it would go like this. I didn't stop walking. You thought you'd win, he flinched. Mom pressured me. You signed, I said. You're an adult. Just let me see, Mia, he begged. Not today, I said. Not without a plan that protects her. Then I told him the truth. I'd been holding back. I know about Kyle. His face froze. Renee told you. You lied to me, I said. You let me marry into a family still trying to replace a dead child. His eyes filled. It's not like that. It is, I said. Because your mother isn't fighting for Mia. She's trying to resurrect someone else. That night, after I tucked Mia into bed, I opened my front door to find an envelope slid under it. No stamp, no return address. Inside was the manila file. Leah Carter, Darlene's handwriting. My hands shook as I dumped it on the table. Photos of me at work events. Notes about my schedule. Copies of my pay stubs. A printed article about company layoffs. Highlighted like evidence. A list of my friends with little notes beside names. Influential, unstable, single. His wasn't presented, and then, at the back, a single document that didn't belong. A birth certificate application. Not for Mia, for a baby named Mia Whitmore. My stomach lurched. It wasn't filed, but it was filled out mother line blank, father line blank, last name Whitmore. A plan to rename my child, to relabel her, to make her theirs on paper. I sat there shaking, staring at the page until the room felt too small to breathe in. 20% into this ending, I need you to weigh in because this isn't just drama. It's a moral line. If a family believes they're saving a child, do they get to steal her identity to do it? Comment your answer, share this story, and subscribe because the quiet, polite kind of abuse is the one people ignore until it's too late. The next morning, Darlene was arrested. Not for the petition that was civil, For impersonation and attempted interference tied to the church friend approach and the falsified forms, the daycare's footage helped. The notary's log didn't match Evan's signature date. Someone had lied under oath. Evan called me from his mother's driveway, voice shaking. They took her. I closed my eyes. Good. She's my mom, he whispered. And Mia is my daughter, I said. Over the next months, Evan's marriage to me became paperwork too. Separation, supervised visitation requests, counseling mandates. He moved into a small apartment and learned what silence feels like when your mother isn't coaching you. Mia started therapy. At first, she drew pictures of doors, locked doors, closing doors, then she started drawing dragons again. One night, months later, she asked, "Mom, why did Grandma want me so much?" I took a breath. Because she wanted power, and because she was hurt a long time ago. But her hurt isn't your job, Mia nodded, then said, I like our house quiet. Me too. If you're wondering whether I forgave Darlene, the answer is no. Forgiveness isn't required for safety. But I learned something I want you to keep. The most dangerous people aren't always loud. Sometimes they smile, bring casseroles, and call you sweetheart while they sharpen the knife. And if your gut tells you your child isn't safe, listen, always.